Roughly 6 years ago, Alfa Romeo introduced the brand's very first SUV to the States called the Stelvio. Now the Stelvio is a very big deal because, as you guys know, everybody wants an SUV, and since this vehicle came out, it has become Alfa Romeo's best-selling model in their portfolio. Now for 2024, the company is finally giving the Stelvio its first round of updates, and today I'm actually out here at M1 Concourse, just outside of Detroit, Michigan, to drive the Stelvio and the high-performance version known as the Stelvio Quadrifoglio. We're actually going to drive this vehicle out on a track and on the road. And if you guys have been looking for an Italian SUV that has a lot more flair versus its European rivals, how does this updated 2024 model stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now before we start talking about the all-new Stelvio, I want to apologize about the condition of my voice. I am sadly at the very tail end of a cold, but the show must go on, so let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain changes for the 2024 Stelvio. Now this is where it gets easy because there are no powertrain changes. There's still a choice of two different engines on the Stelvio. This model here is known as the base engine. Now it's really anything but basic because Alfa Romeo touts this engine as the most powerful base engine in its class. It's a 2-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine. It's actually a single overhead cam four-cylinder, and it still makes 280 horsepower and 306 pound-feet of torque. It's connected to an 8-speed automatic transmission that's built by ZF. And then this model here also comes standard with their Q4 all-wheel drive system because this is the Competizione trim level. It's the highest trim level of this engine. Now, fuel economy is rated at 22 in the city and 28 on the highway. That's on premium gas. It has around a 17-gallon fuel tank, so you're looking at around 400 miles of range on premium on a full tank. Alfa Romeo says this engine is good for 0 to 60 in around 5.5 seconds. It'll still tow a maximum of 3,000 pounds, and as it sits, this model here weighs in at just over 4,000 pounds. Now, of course, if you guys want more power, the Quadrifoglio version easily doubles this power with its twin turbocharged Ferrari-derived V6. But let's go ahead and close up this hood and talk about the exterior styling. Now, first of all, this is the company's first ever matte finish paint. It's known as Moonlight Gray Matte. It's actually a $1,700 upcharge, and I think it's actually a very beautiful exterior color. Typically, matte colors for me, I don't always love the way they look on certain models, but as you can see here with this kind of like cement gray, with the way it's finished off, for $1,750, it's actually a really cheap paint option, considering some manufacturers charge as much as like $10,000 for a matte finish color. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think of this color. You can see the front fascia has the traditional styling elements here. You have that tri-shield look for the grille. I like how it's also kind of gloss gray painted that kind of, you know, looks really good in contrast with this moonlight gray. You can see the headlights. These are the full LED headlights, which have been updated. It's got that new tri-lobo triple LED element here where you have the LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals. No fog lights in this vehicle, as you can see, but in this particular trim level here, I think Alfa Romeo has done a good job in keeping this model consistently looking good. It still stands out and it still looks good, especially in the sea of so many compact crossovers, compact luxury crossovers to choose from. The Quadrifoglio is going to have a slightly more aggressive look with carbon fiber, and of course you have some functional air intakes here that allow for cooling for the engine. The Quadrifoglio also will have the hood vents on the hood. This model here being that it's just a standard model, doesn't have that function. Now looking at the side profile, you can see this vehicle here is a compact SUV, which means its wheelbase is 111 inches long. Its overall length is just over 185 inches long. So compared to its competitors, this is about right in the middle in terms of the overall length. Compared to the Giulia, this car is also about 10 inches higher, and it's also around 3 inches wider than a Giulia. Now looking at the wheels, you can see the Competizione, which is technically the highest trim with the 4-cylinder, has this unique kind of 5-hole graphite gray finish wheel. You can see it's got these red painted calipers with these like 13-inch rotors behind that. You can see these are a Continental cross contact all season tire. You have an all independent suspension with adaptive dampers. And I also like how the wheel arch trim, as you can see here, is painted in that gloss darker gray, which really looks good, of course, with the moonlight matte finish gray exterior color. Now you can see the turn signal mirrors, they're integrated. These are also power folding mirrors. You have these nicely integrated roof rails. The Stelvio continues to offer a panoramic sunroof, which you can also get on the Quadrifoglio. If you guys want a Quadrifoglio, the Stelvio is the only one that gives you a pano sunroof option. And looking at the rear of the vehicle, this is a very mild refresh. So you can see the taillights look practically the same, although they kind of have like a smoked finish to them where they are full LED design. You can see the badging, you can also get it to be blacked out, but there's a Q4 badge there to show that it has all-wheel drive. The exhaust system here, you can see, I like the way that it has kind of like this integrated look with the dual outlet exhaust. You also can get a quad outlet system if you guys go for the Quadrifoglio. You have this nice little sporty rear diffuser. There are some fake vents here, which I don't love, but again, you can see this is still a very attractive looking SUV that kind of reminds me a little bit more of a hot hatch, but I think it's a really attractive looking vehicle overall. Now, looking at the cargo area, this is where the Stelvio kind of gives up some practicality compared to its competitors. You have 18.5 cubic feet of total space back here, which is usable, but it is around 10 cubic feet less versus some competitors. You can see underneath here, there is no spare tire. Instead, you just have a fix-a-flat kit, a little bit of underfloor storage, which is nice. If you fold down the second row seats, there's no third row available. This car will expand the cargo to around 56.5, which again is usable, but around 10 cubic feet less than some of its competitors. So while the exterior of the 2024 Stelvio isn't all that different, the interior is also pretty much the same versus the pre-refresh version. As I get in and shut the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the Giorgio platform that was introduced back in 2016. Now, here's the key fob for the vehicle. You can see Alfa does a different key fob design versus other Stellantis products. This is their intelligent access key. You have the usual unlock, lock, power lift gate, and then you have a remote start function along with your panic feature. Alfa Romeo, I don't believe, does phone as a key right now, which again is showing kind of the age of this vehicle. And then unlike other competitors, Alfa puts the start-stop button here on the steering wheel. So put your foot on the brake. And then when the vehicle starts up, it's not a hybrid, so you're gonna have a traditional starter noise. And then what you heard there is just the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder. Now, looking at the rest of this dash, you can see it looks pretty much the same as the pre-refreshed model. You still have an 8.8-inch screen here. However, the big upgrade is the new 12.3-inch fully digital cluster here for the instrument panel. This is essentially taken off of the Tonale, which, as you can see, it almost has a traditional analog look, but that's actually the retro design of the speedometer and the tachometer. You can actually change the way that looks by pushing this button here at the end of the stock. You can see that's more of a, I guess, a more modern look. And then you can also go to a kind of like a regular look where it takes away a lot of the extras, where it's a little bit more subdued. I personally like the retro look that you get over here. You can also kind of adjust the screen there by pushing this button. You can adjust what you see in the center to show a speedometer, to show your trip computer, to show other information. So that looks a lot more modern. However, it definitely clashes with that screen there, which is basically running off of the older Alpha Connect system. It is a touchscreen, as you can see, but the graphics and the resolution just looks really coarse and grainy. The Apple CarPlay is there, however, it is not wireless. So remember, if you guys are looking at the Tonale, it'll have the newer system where it's 10.25 inches. It also is Uconnect 5. This is the older system here, which again, it gets the job done, but I wish Alfa had upgraded the software here, which again, they're gonna do for the next generation of this vehicle that's coming in 2025. Now, looking at the rest of the dashboard here and the door panels, let's talk about the door panels, because as you can see, there's actually a beautiful leather stitching there with the contrast stitching on the upper portion. You have some aluminum trim, and then you also have the Harman Kardon premium stereo, which sounds pretty good. It's also soft padded right there where you'd rest your elbow. The driver's side here gets 3-person memory, which is nice. The seats are also 12-way power adjustment, and they're also 3-way heated, and you also get a heated steering wheel. Sadly, you still cannot get ventilated seats on the Tonale or on the Stelvio or the Giulia. Only the Tonale offers ventilated seats, which I was kind of hoping Alfa would eventually add for the refresh model. Now, the steering wheel, as you can see, it's a really nice flat bottom design. It's got contrasting stitching. The paddles here are still very Ferrari-like, where they're mounted on the column and they're actually aluminum. They look great and they feel really great. They're great to use, but they do get in the way. So if you're trying to look for the windshield wiper stock or the turn signal stock, they definitely get in the way. The steering wheel itself offers manual tilt telescoping, where it offers a good amount of adjustability and range. You can get a pretty comfortable driving position here, at least for somebody my height. The center stack here, you can see, looks pretty much the same. You have dual zone climate control. You actually have hard buttons here for your heated seats and for your climate functions, which is nice. You have a USB-A connector port here. You have cup holders, of course, and then you have like this little cup holder lid that closes with more of the aluminum trim, more leather over here. Overall, you can see this area here also looks pretty much the same. Your drive mode selector is still here. There's still that DNA mode where you have normal, advanced efficiency, and then you also have dynamic, and then you can also adjust the damper. If you guys are looking at the Quadrifoglio, you'll have additional race feature that'll basically turn off all the nannies. You have a wireless phone charging pad over here, and then if you guys don't want to use the touchscreen, Alfa gives you this kind of like rotating dial where you can also control the infotainment system. I prefer using it as a touchscreen, although as you can see, the touch response is very, very slow, and when you put the vehicle into reverse, you can see the backup camera is just really pathetic. Especially for a premium brand, I was really hoping that, again, that they would update this. If you look at the Tonale, they have a much better system for using the resolution because of the Uconnect 5 system now. Center console here, you can see when you open this up, it's actually a pretty big size. There's a new USB-C charging port there. This is where actually you want to use these plugs here to connect your phone to the CarPlay or your smartphone connectivity. It's a pretty decent size as well. Above me, you can see big panoramic sunroof. Lets in a lot of light. You can also open up this sunroof entirely, where it looks like it only opens up over the 2 front seats, but you have to push it again and you can see it'll open up. That's the maximum that'll open, but it's nice that they actually give you the function where you can actually open up the roof entirely. There's no ambient lighting in this cabin as well. You just have LED map lighting in here, which is fine, but again, it's starting to show its age a little bit. The glove compartment here, you can see, is damped and lined with felt. It's a little bit on the small side, but overall, the storage is certainly usable. It is missing features like a heads-up display. I believe you can get that on the Tonale. And then when you look at the actual seat design here, you can see, I hope you guys like black because this particular trim here only comes with a black interior with the contrasting stitching. The seats are comfortable and supportive, but they definitely hug you really tightly. So if you guys are of wider frame, you might find these seats to be a little bit constricting, but overall, the interior, while it does have most of the tech you're looking for, the center screen there is definitely a sour point, so it's a little sad to me that Alfa didn't upgrade the software to Uconnect 5 when they refreshed this vehicle. Now, if you plan to use the Stelvio as a family vehicle, this is where the Stelvio is going to give up a little bit in terms of the competition, because Alfa Romeo says that when you get back into the back seat, you only have around 32 inches of legroom. 32 is really small. It's probably like 4 to 5 inches smaller versus its competitors in terms of the overall legroom. Now, this is where I'd have the seat to drive. I'm 5'7". You can see once I'm back here, there is a good amount of foot space underneath here, but there's a large hump here for the rear drive shaft, of course. So the middle passenger is going to be shafted a little bit when you're sitting back here, but overall, legroom is fine, knee room is okay, headroom space for me. The sunroof definitely takes up space, but it's fine. So if you guys are over 6 feet tall, this is definitely going to be a constricted back seat. Materials back here, thankfully, are the same high quality stuff from the front. You have padded leather here with the contrast stitching, more aluminum trim. It's padded over here, which is nice. You have rear seat air vents, again, which is a nice touch. And then you also have 3-level heated back seats along with 2 more USB-A charging ports. A little bit of storage there. You have 2 storage pockets, and then if you fold this down, you can see there's an armrest with 2 cup holders. So overall, if you want to use this as a family vehicle, this is where Alfa really needs to do something and offer a vehicle with a bigger back seat. If you look at all their vehicles, the Tonale, I believe, actually has more rear seat legroom versus the Stelvio, which is strange because this is technically the bigger vehicle. Now, because I'm here at a racetrack, I thought I'd do something that probably a lot of Stelvio owners may not do unless you end up with the Quadrifoglio. Now, we showed you guys a video on the TI, or the Competizione, but I wanted to actually show you guys out on the track what the Quadrifoglio is like. So let's go ahead and see what this thing is like out there. Oh my God. Now, it's been a while since I drove the Quadrifoglio version of the Stelvio, but with the same 2.9 liter twin turbo V6 making 505 horsepower from the Giulia, but with the company's Q4 all-wheel drive system, oh, the sound that this thing makes when it shifts, that pop, the bangs, the farts. I mean, this car is unbelievable considering it's an SUV. Oh. That 8-speed automatic also is the perfect partner for this engine. It just puts the engine right in the meat of its power brand. And you know what? For a vehicle that weighs 4,300 pounds, it surprisingly has good brakes. It has a good chassis. The steering is incredible. Oh, oh my God. Fantastic. I mean, this car is seriously one of the few competitors out there that actually can keep pace with a Porsche Macan GTS. I mean, that is the SUV to go for if you're looking for a high-performance SUV. The BMW X3M is also kind of in the same league. I mean, this probably has, to me, the best steering that you'll find in the sports SUV space. I mean, Alfa just does an amazing job with the steering. Yeah, it's all-wheel drive, but it lets the back step out if you want it to. Now I actually have it in dynamic mode because I don't want to have all the nannies turned off. Remember, if you put it into race mode, it'll turn all the nannies off, and you don't necessarily want that when the track is cold and it's slightly damp out here as well. It's starting to rain, but hey, this is where that Q4 all-wheel drive system can come into play. The seats also hold you in place really nicely. Oh. And Alfa says this car will get to 60 in 3.6 seconds. So it's actually quicker than the Giulia QV, and that's because of the all-wheel drive system. I really think Alfa should consider putting the all-wheel drive system in the Giulia, but God, what an incredible machine. I mean, you didn't expect Alfa to be able to produce a vehicle like this, make it drive basically like a tall hot hatch, and that's kind of the beauty about the Stelvio, is it does drive like a tall hot hatch. Put my foot down here. Right out of the showroom floor. This thing is track ready. It's amazing what Alfa has done here. Now, with the extra weight of this car, you definitely start to feel it when you really start pushing it harder and harder around a track. But surprisingly, if you guys do plan to just drive this out on the road more, it's still got a really great ride quality. The seats also hold you in place nicely. And the transmission also is a great partner. It will automatically downshift for you when you're hard on the brakes and whatnot, and it just shifts so fast. And then there's also these paddles here. If you guys want to use the paddles, you can obviously do that to kind of give you a little bit more control. But man, this car, the sound of the engine, I love the sound that this thing makes. And obviously, I'm driving the Quadrifoglio model. Earlier, we were showing you guys the Competizione. I've actually had a chance to drive that vehicle a few times out on the road. I had one about 9 months ago. So if you guys are interested to see driving impressions on the 2-liter turbo, be sure to click in the link in the description below where you can see my review on the Competizione before they refreshed the car. They didn't really change much in terms of the engine, so I'm not gonna go over that one until I have one for a full week to test. But they did add a mechanical limited slip rear diff to this model here, and I have to say, it puts the power down incredibly well. This actually feels less twitchy than the Giulia that I just hopped out of, and I'm impressed. It's also kind of strange to be sitting up so high, but at the same time, I also kind of like how this thing is giving you a little bit of a better seating position. You kind of see a little bit easier in it, yet at the same time, it's still a ton of fun to drive. And that's kind of the beauty about the Stelvio, is you can have your cake and eat it too, because it gives you the best of both worlds. So with a little over 7,000 Stelvios sold in America last year, obviously in terms of sales volume, this represents a very small chunk of the very lucrative compact luxury SUV segment. And for 2024, Alfa has made some very small changes in order to keep this vehicle competitive. Now, as you guys saw from the interior, the changes there were also very small. I really wish that the company had given this car a new Uconnect 5 interface. However, the exterior design, I think they've done a really good job. This car was already a good looking vehicle when it came out back in 2018. It's made even better, of course, with the updates to the headlights, to the taillights, this new moonlight matte gray finish paint color. And then for those of you who plan to drive the regular version, this is still a very comfortable vehicle out there on the road. Its ride quality is on the sportier, firmer end, but it also has some of the best handling characteristics you're gonna see in the segment. The interior space is lacking, especially in the back seat. So if you guys are looking for a bigger back seat, you should probably be looking at some of its competitors. For those of you who want the high performance version, the Quadrifoglio, out on the track, as you guys saw, it's a beast. That vehicle essentially feels like a hot hatch. It's a true competitor to vehicles like the Porsche Macan GTS, where if you guys are looking for a high performance vehicle, really there's the BMW X3M, the Mercedes GLC 63, and then of course the Macan GTS. The Quadrifoglio model definitely feels special, but it's also gonna cost you a pretty penny. In all, Alfa basically is a smaller premium brand, and it's going to show, of course, in the technology in this vehicle, but it also feels a lot more unique, and I think that's kind of the Alfa way. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on the 2024 Stelvio, these are now heading to dealerships right now as we speak, and pricing is going to start at just around $45,000 for the base version. Now, this model here that I'm showing you is the Competizione. It starts at around $58,000 with the moonlight gray color and the $700 driver assistance package and destination. You're looking at $59,870. The Quadrifoglio version is going to start at around $87,000. So the Quadrifoglio is nearly twice the price of the standard Stelvio, and I kind of think that's where Alfa has room to kind of introduce a mid-level high-performance version. Something with like around 400 horsepower would be good in the $60,000 to $70,000 range, because the Stelvio Quadrifoglio that I showed you earlier on the track, that one's going to be around 90 grand fully loaded, which again is a lot of money, but keep in mind, if you look at something like the Mercedes or the BMW or the Porsche, those can easily top 6 figures. And again, for those of you who don't require the biggest back seat or the most elaborate tech, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio is certainly still worth a look. And also keep in mind that Alfa is planning to introduce all new models by the year 2025. Their first fully electric model will be introduced by 2025, and then the company is promising by 2027 they're going to be going fully electric worldwide, where they're going to stop production of internal combustion engines. So for those of you, again, who want to buy something that's unique, that has a Ferrari-derived engine, you should be definitely putting the 2024 Stelvio or Giulia at the very top of your list. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Alfa Romeo Stelvio. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.